We have done 2020 and 2019 paper. So today we are going to do the 2018 paper, and if you have any other questions, you can ask. Okay. So question number 1. Which of the following statements is correct regarding object-oriented analysis and design? Okay. So now you should be able to answer these things. Right. Question answer 1. Objects are the building blocks of object-oriented software. So that is obvious, right? Because that is why we call it object-oriented software. So set of objects communicate and collaborate with each other by passing messages. So A is correct. Design patterns can be used to improve the flexibility and functionality of object-oriented analysis design applications. Obviously, yes, right? So when you apply design patterns, we are using the best practices, right? So best designs, best solutions, so which increase the flexibility, reusability, maintainability. Okay, yes, we'll take. Among different type of objects, control objects bridge the gap between system and its users. So usually the gap between system and user is filled by interface object. So that is where the system and user is interacting. So therefore it is not control object. This is interface object. So therefore will not take. Okay. So I hope you have done the paper by now. Okay. Objects are the unit of data abstraction in an object-oriented program. So that is correct, right? Objects are the units, or rather we can say classes are the units. But anyway, I don't know whether they will take it or not, but usually classes and objects are highly related. So therefore we'll take it, but I never know what is the thinking behind the examiner. Okay, so usually we take casually, we use class and objects as a interchangeable words casually, but officially yes, it is a class. Okay, so debatable, but I will go for that. Object-oriented analysis and design facilitate reuse in software development. So facilitate reuse, obviously. That is why we go for object-oriented analysis and design and software development, because it promote reusability, maintainability, etc. Okay. So my answer is A, B, D, E. So they have not taken C as, okay, why not they have not taken C? Okay, C is not an answer, but they have not taken D. So that is again, I told you. So ideally this should have been what? The building block of data abstraction, not object, class. So I thought the examiner might consider both class and objects as an interchangeable thing. So I told you that it can be debatable. So ideally it should have been what? Classes are the unit of data abstraction in an object-oriented program, not the objects. But I thought most of the time we use that casually. The examiner will go for that, but examiner has not taken that. Okay, so therefore just consider that it's not object, it is class. Okay, right. So that is, anyway, we have to give that benefits to the examiner as well. Okay, so he has expected a strict answer. I just went for a loose answer. Second one. Which of the following statements is correct regarding principles of object-oriented analysis and design? Polymorphism means one class has or contain other component classes. No, that is not polymorphism. මම කිව්වා මේ බිත්තර පෙට්ටියක් වගේ මේ ඔක තමයි ගොඩක් අය කියන්නේ. හරි, polymorphism කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? Objects contain many other objects වගේ කතන්දරයක් කියන්න හදනවා. Contains නෙමෙයි නේද? Contains කියන කතාව වැරදි. Class has කියන්න බෑ, contains කියන්න බෑ. So polymorphism, I don't know whether what the examiner goes for, but I will definitely say no, because polymorphism means object can take many forms. Right? Not object has many components. Inheritance shows optionality among classes at the same level of structure. So at the same level of structure, inheritance shows optionality. I don't know what is that. Optionality. Optional means either you can use it or you may not use it. Optionality among classes at the same level. Right. So that I am not very sure, right? Because it's usually inheritance, inheriting from the parent. I will not go for that. Encapsulation helps building flexible applications by breaking down the application into parts. So encapsulation means you put it into structures, right? Structures. So in a way that is also correct because we encapsulate small units, customer class, payment card class, order class, etc. Otherwise we could have developed it as a one big chunk. Okay. So now you can see these questions are really good question actually, because unless you have think about those things at great depth, you will not be able to come up with proper answers definitely. And of course, uh, just like maybe I am having few conflicts with the examiner, you will be having so many conflicts. That means unless you have thought in depth, your answers are going to be mostly conflict with the examiner's answer. Okay, so I think that is okay, because when we encapsulate we manage to break it into small parts rather than you develop it as a entire thing. So then it's more flexible, reusable, because now we have these classes. Okay, so I don't, but this is not the direct definition. Okay, direct definition, but again I am now worried whether the examiner is looking for the direct answer. So because usually this concept is called modularization, but encapsulation is also sort of a modularization, small module called classes, etc. Anyway, I will go for that, but it can be debatable. Abstraction specifies that an operation can have the same name in different classes, and each class will perform the operation in different way. No, that is polymorphism and method overriding. Okay, so no, D is wrong. Objects communicate with another by passing message between them. Yes, right. So E is the answer. C is a debatable answer, but I will go for C also as answer. Okay, so you should have your answers with you, and if you want to discuss, or if you don't agree with me or the answer in the answer sheet, you can talk. Okay, right. So for me, answer is C and E. Right. So they have taken not only C and E, they have taken B also. Right. B also. Inheritance shows optionality among classes. Optionality. Maybe what the examiner think is optionally. Now you can say this is a animal class, dog and cat. Now dog can implement its own things, cat can implement its own thing, while it's inherit from the animal, right? So maybe that is what examiner may be thinking optionality means. So they have the option to classes in the same level, they have the option to develop their own things as well. I think that might be that, most probably that should be the idea behind this statement, why they have taken this as answer. Okay, so in a way that is also correct, right? So therefore so they have taken B also as answer. So what they have mean is they can implement their own things. Okay, optional, they have the option to do its own things as well. So therefore they have taken B, C and E. Okay, right. Third one, which of the following statements is correct regarding use case diagrams? Use case diagram models the system from user's point of view. So that is why we call it use case diagram. Okay, so even at the use case and developer's case, yes. Use case is a technique for capturing the potential requirements of new system or software changes. So potential, yes, right. So potential or basically the requirements. Okay, we'll take it, right? But if you don't agree with the answer, you can talk. Each use case can provide scenario that conveys how the user interact with the system. That is correct, right? Each use case is how the user interact with the system. So the user want to make a payment, user want to make an order, right? money transfer, maybe if it is a banking system. Provide scenario. I think that is reasonable, right? An accounting system cannot be an actor in a library management system. So if you have external systems can be actors. Okay, remember in a use case diagram, you can have the human users, and also other external systems can also be actors. So therefore, but I don't know whether what is this accounting system has to do with the library management system. But maybe if there are some fines and stuff like that, if they want to do some uh, generate some data or something like that, it might be the case. Okay, because if the library management system and accounting systems are two different things, but obviously this accounting system is not something very close related to, but cannot be, they say cannot be, I would say wrong. But this can be a debatable answer, because someone will say that accounting system has nothing to do with the library management system. Okay, but because external system can interact with another system, I will say that is a correct one. So therefore it says cannot be, I will say wrong. Okay, but it can be debatable. Okay, the use case diagram represent a static view of the system. No, use case diagram represent dynamic, because those are the use cases, behaviors, or the expected behaviors, functionalities. So therefore this is wrong. Okay, so the answer is A, B and C, right? A, B and C, but C can be debatable. Okay, so they have taken A, B and C. Okay, right. Fourth one, which of the following UML diagram is appropriate in explaining scenarios? So if you want to explain a scenario, what is the best way to do it? Of course, the class diagram is to show the overall structure. Deployment diagram is to show the deployment arrangement, right? State diagram, is it a one scenario? No, right? It is how an object, or what are the states an object go through during different in its life cycle. So that it can involve many scenarios. So it says in explaining scenarios, right? Explaining scenarios means you want to explain a scenario. State diagram is not to explain a scenario, it's explain the overall states and events and stuff like that. It involves multiple scenarios, right? So I will not go for that. But it says scenarios, right? Component diagram, no, it's pretty much like deployment diagram. So I will go for use case diagram. But we never know, the user will take examiner might take E also. Okay, but I don't see any other possibility. Okay, I will go for B only, right? I will go for B only. Yes, B only. Okay, because that is where you can explain different scenarios. State diagrams is not to explain scenarios, just to explain the state transitions, right? But indirectly it has scenario, that is why I was worried, but anyway examiner has not taken that. Question 5, which of the following UML diagrams is appropriate in modeling the static view of the system? Right? Which of the following UML diagrams is appropriate in modeling the static view of the system? So which diagrams are related to static? Of course, activity is a dynamic diagram. State is a dynamic, because states are transit from one to other, and activities happen. Communication, obviously message passing, invoking behaviors. Sequence diagram is also in the same category. The class diagram is a static diagram where it shows the overall structure of and how those classes are related. So the answer is E. Okay, 5, answer is E. 6. Consider the following requirement in a course registration system. Okay, a course is a prerequisite for another course to be taken by a student. Okay, so there's an association or sort of a condition. Okay, what is the most suitable methods to model the above requirement in a class diagram? inheritance, aggregation, association, reflexive association, abstract class. Obviously, so this is a class, sorry, a particular course is associated with another course. What is that? That's why we have the association, because it's a prerequisite. So therefore, I will go for recursive or reflexive association. Right? So because we can say that, for example, if you want to do subject X, you must have done subject A. So now it's between two subjects. So therefore, its association is between two instances of the same subject, and it can be one to many as well. Maybe one subject is has a prerequisite of many subjects, and of course it can be many to many as well, because A can be prerequisite for X and B is also prerequisite to X, as well as X is prerequisite for maybe T, and X is a prerequisite for U, right? So therefore it's a many to many, but association, reflexive association. Okay, so I will go for B. Definitely there's nothing called inheritance here, no aggregation, no, it's not a whole part. Of course it's association, but I think this one is better than this one, so therefore, but anyway, I don't know whether examiner will take this one also, because reflexive association is also association. Okay, but it says most suitable, so therefore one answer. And of course it is not abstract class, right, because there can be students who are doing courses, and we have no idea about whether course is abstract concept in this particular system, so therefore we will not go for that. Okay, right, so the answer is then B. Yes, B. 7. The relationship between student and course classes in a course registration system is modeled as given below. So they have given the class diagram. It's a many-to-many association. Student can do many courses. Courses can be done by many students. Right, question. If there is a requirement to record all grades obtained by the students on all the subjects they have taken. Now this is something like the many-to-many relationship in data tables. Okay, remember when we have table, because classes and tables are highly related. When you have many-to-many relationship, remember you can have attributes in the relationship. Why? Because there will be, we need to have, if it is meant to many, we always need a connecting table, and those are the attributes going for the connecting table, right? For example, student can, now if you want to now student name, student ID, student name, contact number, so those are candidate for student attributes. Course ID, course name, course fee, right? So those are course. But if someone take what is the marks obtained by a student for a particular course, so what is the date of registration of a student for a particular course, because he may have registered for different courses on different dates. For that kind of things, we are going to have a we need another table when it comes to databases. In object oriented design, we say that we can have associative class. Okay, so when your association is many to many, what we do is we can model associative class, which is not connected to another class, which is connected to this association, and those attributes we can have it, or any other methods also we can have it. Mostly these classes will have attributes like marks, date of registration, etc. Just like you have attributes here, and just like you are going to have table, connecting table, when you convert this into design. Okay, right, so I hope you got it. So if there is a requirement of record all the grades obtained by students on all the subjects they take, which of the following options provide the correct solution? Add grade attribute to student class, it's not going to work. Add grade attribute to course class, it's also not going to work. Define association class as grade. Of course, if you want, you can give it a more general name, because if you give it a name as grade, it's very narrow. It's only related to grade. But if you can give it a more general name that is better, like registration or whatever, then we can have some more functionalities meaningfully. But anyway, they are talking about the grades, right? So they are talking about the grades. Yeah, therefore we'll take that. Okay. Add a method grade to course class. No, that is not going to work, right? That is not going to work. So I will go for only 3, right? Only 3. So that means answer is A. Answer is A. 7. Answer is A. Okay. Right. 8. Which of the following statements are correct regarding UML? Right. UML stand for Universal Multitasking Language. No. Right. So that is Unified Modeling Language. UML comes with wide variety of tools for building models and generating code. So that is correct, right? So we can build models, and also there are some tools to generate code, but which are not much used in commercial software development, because most of the time you want to write your code from grounds up because of the complications, right? But that facility is there. That facility is there. Let's take it as a correct. It is one of the best known methodologies for software development. We can't say UML is a methodology, but object oriented methodology is or object oriented approach is a approach. And also I don't consider UML as a methodology. Of course, UML was first started by in the rough approach, rational unified process. But we will let's not consider UML as a methodology, because methodologies are the waterfalls, rational unified process, agile development, etc. Okay, so therefore I will not go for that because it says methodology. UML is associated with object constraint language. So that might be correct, but I can't exactly remember. But I can remember there's something called object modeling language, right? OML. But there are some control related languages as well, right? So I'm not very sure about this. Okay, may be correct, but I'm not very sure. Okay, right. Next one. It is a standard graphical language for modeling object oriented software. Yes. Okay. So I will go for B and E. B and E. So D I will not take because I am not very sure, but it can be answer as well. Okay. So I will go for B and E. Okay. B, E, they have taken D also. So that is. I think I can remember there's something like that because I was not 100% sure about the name. So I think yes. So they have a language called object constraint language, but that is not a programming language or something. So they just define it to generate codes and just to generalize and model this. When you draw a class diagram like this, now different tools. They need a common way to save this in a XML format, etc., so that these are interchangeable. For example, if you draw it in one star UML, if there's a standard language, you should be able to open it in agro UML as well. So they wanted to have that kind of a common thing. So that is why they came up with this language. So I think yes, that language is called object constraint language. Okay, right. So that is also answer. Okay, right. So let's move on to the 9th. Identify correct statements with regard to state diagram. A state diagram models specific instance of a class at specific instance of time. Completely wrong, because its state transition shows it goes to this at different times. Okay, wrong. It is a way of expressing dynamic and static information about systems. So in a way that is correct, because state is sort of a static, right? I don't know, but it's mostly dynamic because it shows it goes from one state to the other. right? And what are the active actions that can happen, right? Do actions, entry actions, exit actions, and it can call something outside thing in during transition or during that state. So I don't know why they call dynamic and static, but state is a data. State is a data, but state transitions are dynamic. So I don't know whether we should go for it or not. Predominantly, we call it dynamic diagram, not a static diagram. But dynamic diagrams can contain static things as well. Should we go for it or not it? Because the dynamic is already mentioned, it says it's dynamic and static information. I will go for that, but it can be debatable. Focus on the state changes of one object. Obviously, it is one state diagrams are drawn for one object, right? Order object, payment object, course object. Yes. State transition can occur in response to trigger event that can cause an action. That is correct, right? So due to some event or when you receive a message, that can trigger state transition, and of course that might invoke actions as well. Okay, like your entry actions, exit actions. Let's go for that. States are represented by arrows. No, states are not represented by arrows. Arrows are used to state transitions. Okay, so definitely no. So the answer for me is B, C, D, but B can be debatable. Okay, 9. Yes, they have not taken B. They have taken only C and D. So the idea is they have considered that it is only dynamic, right? So I thought because when we say dynamic can state, since the dynamic word is there, they will take it. But so they have, you can see that the examiner is looking for very precise answers, right? Precise answers. So I was again a little bit loose because dynamic word is there, but the examiner is pretty much looking for the precise answers. Okay, so therefore yes, the answer they have taken is C and D. Okay, so in the other questions, let's be very precise. Okay, 10. Which of the following statements is correct regarding RUP? So rational unified process is the process that came after the waterfall and bit of spiral approach and prototyping, and in 1980s and latter part of 1980s and early part of 1990s, where the object oriented concepts, because that is the time where the C++ language was really picking up. The Java language was introduced in early 1990s, and that is the time where object-oriented software development was becoming very popular, and that too. So then came the RUP and the UML and those concepts. Okay, right. So because RUP is highly related to UML, because that is RUP is the first serious approach in software developing using object-oriented, and this RUP or the rational unified process, actually there was a very famous UML tool called rational rows. Okay, I think now it's no longer there. I think it was acquired by IBM later. I don't know whether it's still there, because we used to use that one when we were doing modeling. Okay, I don't know whether it's no longer there. Rational rows, because IBM is now sort of in down, you can say IBM rational rows. Still I think the tool is there, but no one is using these days. Yeah, still the download, you can download, I think, right? You can see it's not updated for very long, 2018. Okay, yeah, still the software is available, right? So RUP is suitable for process models developing all type of software projects. RUP is suitable for process model for known, right? So RUP is suitable for mostly object oriented, right? All types of software projects, all types. It's iterative, right? Model centric, architecture centric. I don't like, because it looks like the examiner is very strict in their answers. So I will say no, right? Use graphical UML models but again this can be debatable. So these are open questions. Use graphical UML models to present static and dynamic views of the software is one of the 6 best practices in RUP. So this is, I can't remember exactly what are the best practices in RUP. That means it's better if you can just refer to the internet and see what are the best practices they have mentioned in the RUP process. But usually RUP process favor, it's a model centric, architecture centric, risk oriented. So that is to try to minimize the risk, try to look at the things in the customer's perspective, right? So those are some features of RUP. So therefore I will take this as one of the feature, because most probably this can be one of the feature, because it says the software is one of the 6 best the UML models to represent static, and so modeling is highly regarded in RUP processing. So I will go for that, but it can be again debatable. Okay, but I think that is correct. RUP consists of sequence of 4 phases, namely problem definition. No, right? RUP has inception, elaboration, construction, and transition. So this is not RUP phases. RUP presents the static and dynamic perspectives of the process. It is not the perspective of the process, right? It is the perspective of the system, right? So I think this is deliberately examiner has put up this word to make it wrong. Okay, it should be the system, not the process, because we are not modeling the process, we are modeling the system. Okay, process is for our ease of managing our software development. Will not go for that. Phases of RUP are more technical compared to other process models. So that is again open question. So what are the phases? Inception, elaboration, construction, and transition. I don't think they are very technical, right? Because even in the inception, you can have a full cycle, bit of implementation also, right? So I think it's more to the management rather than technicality, right? So I don't know. It can be go here and there, more technical. But in a way, it's little bit heavily model oriented as well, because it's emphasized on modeling, architecture, right? Which is not the case in something like waterfall, etc. So in that case, it's a bit of yes as well, because of the lot of emphasis on modeling. So what we should go for? More technical. But if you take something like agile, it looks a little bit more technical. It says phases, right? Because it says phases, we'll say no. Okay, because it's specifically talk about the phases, not the overall RUP. First phases are just inception, elaboration, blah blah blah, right? Because it's not taking something like developing, testing, designing. No, it's just inception, elaboration, construction, transition, right? So we'll say no, right? Not more technical. It looks like it's less technical. Okay, because they are only concentrating phases. Right, so then usually at least one answer is correct, so therefore I will go for B. Okay, I will go for B. So they have taken B and D, right? So that is so they have taken B and D. So B is correct now, so I just mark B. D, RUP presents the static and dynamic perspective of the process. So that is a very loose term. Maybe the examiner is referring to process as, I thought the process means the software development process. That is what we are mostly referring to. But it looks like the examiner has referred to, when we say process, remember we have the data and process. Now these things can happen when you go for exams, because words have overloaded meanings. Maybe you think that word in one way, the examiner might think in another way. Okay, I think what the examiner has thought as process is not the software development process. Systems have processors, right? Processors. So then the static and dynamic perspective of the process. Oh, I think what he mean is he should have used the word system. Then there is no confusion. But I think what he mean by process is system. Okay. So then of course we can take D. Okay. So anyway, I don't like this word. It should have been system. Then it is very straightforward. Okay. But anyway, he has taken D. So that means he has taken process as system. Right. 11. Consider the following scenario. The message read is sent to an object which responds by displaying certain data. Which of the following terms best describe the behavior? Okay, right. So let's see. A message read is sent to an object. So for this particular object, the message called read is sent. Okay, which respond by displaying certain data. So which is going to display some data. Which of the following term best describe this behavior? So that is basically messaging, right? Not the inheritance, not the composition, not the encapsulation, not the then nothing is there. Maybe polymorphism, because when a message is sent, different objects can behave differently, right? Because when nothing is there, at least we want to go for something very close, right? Because it's all about sending a message which respond by displaying certain data. Maybe another object or subclass object might behave differently, right? So therefore, usually at least one answer is correct. So therefore, I will go for D, because I don't see any reason for go for inheritance or compositions or aggregation. I don't know whether encapsulation. Maybe, I don't know, right? Slight connection, but I will go for polymorphism. Okay, 11 polymorphism D. Oh, they have gone for C. So now we can see. So they have taken it as encapsulation. So the thinking might be, right? Thinking might be it's encapsulated, right? It's encapsulated. Your object is encapsulated, so others have to send a message to call the behaviors. But anyway, it's a very very indirectly talking about encapsulation. Okay, extremely indirect way talking about encapsulation. But anyway, the two closest answers were encapsulation and polymorphism. Unfortunately, the examiner has taken the encapsulation, but again I can't argue with that also, because so you have encapsulated the internal behavior. You just call that object and it will show that particular behavior, right? So therefore it's bit of encapsulation as well. Okay, because they are not talking about the subclasses, etc. Yes, we can't directly say polymorphism also. So therefore, that is why I was worried about whether it's polymorphism or encapsulation, because this scenario is not talking about subclasses, etc. as well, and multiple messages behaving differently. So therefore, now actually I also feel like I should have gone for encapsulation rather than polymorphism. Okay, because it has encapsulated the behavior. Someone can just call a behavior and call it, and you don't see the technicality or the internal functionalities because it's well encapsulated. Okay, so yeah, I think this is the better answer, but it's a very indirect way they have specified a test that fun. But anyway, in degree level, at this level, usually don't ask, expect your examiner to ask exactly saying encapsulation is this and definition, and say check whether you know the definition or not. So they are going to test it in a very abstract level or very indirect manner, an extremely indirect manner, to make it more challenging. So therefore, anyway, so I will go for C. Okay, so usually this paper is extremely good quality. No, you know that sometimes even in semester one, when some papers are done, I also get frustrated, right? Not only you, because the nature of the paper. But usually semester 3 papers are in general in really good standard. Okay, and object oriented SAD paper is in a very good standard usually, so that credit must goes to the examiner. Okay, right. 12. Match the terms in column X with most appropriate statements from column Y. Okay, right. So let's match it very quickly. Spiral model, waterfall model, incremental, reuse oriented, agile. Okay, so let's try to model some of those, then we will be able to find the answer. Okay, right. Specification, development and validations are interleaved. Interleaved means mix. May be plan driven or agile. Okay. Okay. Maybe agile. I don't know. It looks like agile, but we can always change it. The system is assembled from existing components. Maybe plan. Maybe plan driven or agile is always. It is again there, right? System is assembled from existing, that is component based, so the reuse oriented models, right? Component based are highly reusable components, so that should be this one. That is sort of a definitely this one. Plan driven, again plan driven. So plan driven means it's not agile, right? Plan driven means we have a well defined plan, we try to follow that, right? Plan driven means that, so we have well defined plans. So therefore, since this say plan driven, now I will not go for agile. I will just keep it open. Okay, right. Plan driven models separate the distinct phases of specification and development. So specification and development, that is analysis and the design and development, are subdivided. Maybe waterfall. Okay, so for the time being, let's put it into waterfall, because waterfall is the one that separate analysis and design and development, because first you understand the requirement for 100%, then you develop it. Okay, so yeah, I will go for this one because it's plan driven also, right? So let's read the D, and if we find a better one, we will change it. Risks are explicitly assessed and resolved throughout the process. It's more into the agile. But anyway, let's see the next one also. Rapid development, frequent releases of the software, reducing process overhead and producing high quality code. That is pretty much agile, because there's nothing called, I don't know whether incremental or agile. So we'll go for this. Now let's see whether we can find a solution. Now I want to again look at A and D. Risks are explicitly assessed and resolved throughout the process. Specification, development and validations are interleaved. Maybe plan driven, no agile. Maybe plan driven, no agile means it's not agile, because it may be plan driven. Interleaved. So I will go for, I don't know whether it's spiral or incremental. I will go for incremental here, because it talk about risks. Those are something to do with the spiral more, right? So that is my one. Actually, it's sort of a guessing also, bit of guessing and bit of logic. So my answer is 1D, 2C, 3A, 4B. I don't know whether that answer is there. 5E. Let's see whether that answer is there. D, no, that answer, no, right? So D, C, A, that answer is there, and that is D. Okay, I will go for that, but I don't know, right? So let's see. Okay, that is my thinking. So that is 12. Yes, examiner also has taken it as D. Now you can see it's all of these things are highly abstract, right? It's not directly telling what is. We have phases, we do one phase after phases, we don't revisit and blah blah blah. No, it has. You can see how they have mentioned it waterfall approach. It's very gently say plan driven, separate and distinct phases of specification and development. So analysis and the part, then the design development part. But obviously we know that analysis, design, development, but usually while we are gathering requirement, we don't do the designing and development. Okay, so likewise. Okay, so anyway the answer is D. Right, next question. 13. Consider the following diagram. Shape 2D, elliptical shape, polygon of obviously inheritance, and elliptical shape is subclass to circle and ellipse. Okay, right. So let's see the question. Which of the following statement is are true regarding the above diagram? All the operations in shape 2D, shape 2D is the super class, are inherited by the other four classes. Yes, by default, yes, because you can see all up what plus mark means what. Now you have to look at that also. If you look at that, you can see plus mark means they are all public. So therefore, obviously, it has to be inherited by other classes. But let's see whether they have overridden. No, right? This one has overridden, but anyway, that is also public. This is a new one. This is a new one. Right, it looks like the first one is correct, right? So I will go for first one. Second one, the rotate operation in class shape 2D is an abstract operation. The rotate operation in class shape 2D is abstract shape 2D. Where is the shape 2D? Sorry, rotate method. Rotate. If it is a if it is abstract method, definitely this polygon must have overridden it, right? So there you can see that they have not override the rotate method, but this one has override. This one has override, but this should be a, because there is no subclass, right? Because there is a subclass. I hope this is a concrete class, right? If it is a concrete class, and if it is, since it has not overridden the rotate method, I will assume that rotate method has a default behavior, that is not an abstract method. Of course, I that is with the assumption that polygon is not an abstract class. Usually you don't see abstract class as a leaf, so therefore I will do that as assumption, as a safe assumption. So therefore I will say no, rotate is not an abstract method. Okay, so that is how you argue. Right, so I will say no. It says rotate operation is the abstract, so I will say no. Wrong. Defining the rotate operation in circle and ellipse class is incorrect. So that is not incorrect, right? So you can always override, right? If you can override the method. So therefore I don't consider it as incorrect. Class circle doesn't have any attribute. Class circle. Of course, it doesn't have any attribute, but it inherits the center. Right? Inherit. So therefore, I don't know. Again, it's different. Of course, the class itself has no attribute, but it has inherited the center. So therefore, again, it can be debatable. But I will say, I don't know, I'm not worried to go for loose answers as well. Any attributes? In a way, yes. But in a way, no. Because it has inherited. I will say yes. It's taking a bit risk again, because I know that your examiner seems to be very strict. But I will again go for loose answer. I will say yes. Okay. I will say yes. I'm taking a risk now. Okay. Right. Orientation is an attribute relevant only to the ellipse class. Orientation. Ellipse class. Right. So here do we have orientation? No. No. Yes. Right. Orientation is something only in the ellipse class. So we'll go for that. So in my case, I will go for 1, 4, 5. 4 is the debatable one. Okay. 13. Okay. So that means A. Okay. So there are debatable answers now. Now A is okay. Right. E is okay. There's no issue, but there are two debatable answers. So that is fine. That is fine. But they have not taken 4. Again, I told you that it can be debatable. Okay. So because now I don't know why the class circle does not have any attribute. So obviously, if I go now again, I took that risk. Now you can see that examine is very strict. I thought it because it inherit other attributes, that is wrong, but now the examine has just go by something like a verbal meaning, right? Verbally, if you just go by the words, yes, by looking at this design you can see it has no attributes, but I thought in a more practical manner, and it went really against me. Okay, so therefore anyway, that is my bad luck. Okay, but what about second one? The rotate operation in class shape 2D is an abstract operation. Rotate operation. So that I don't agree at all. Of course, I can agree and disagree with things. If this is a abstract method, definitely it should have been overridden here, right? Because I can't see any other subclasses. Therefore, this can't be an abstract class. And then it's useless, right? So therefore I don't agree that answer at all. But if you don't agree with me, you can talk. Okay, you can talk, we can discuss. Okay, I don't agree with that answer. Anyway, simply I don't agree. I will take only a and e, and maybe for d I will agree in a way, but I don't agree with this one. Okay, this answer. Right, so next question. Consider the following: teacher student association one to many bidirectional. So teacher can teach maybe many students. Students is taught by many students are taught by one teacher. That means probably classes. Right. State correct statements regarding the above diagram. Teacher teaches only one student. No. Student has only one teacher. It looks like yes. Many students have one teacher. There can be a teacher who teaches 0 students. Now remember, when we say star, that is 0 many, right? So star means 0 many. Otherwise you have to say 1 dot many. Remember we discussed that on the class diagrams, right? Let's double check. Multiplicity. Right, so this is, now star means 0 or more, right? 0 or more. So therefore yes. So teacher can, a student has only there can be a teacher who teaches a 0 student, because star means 0 many. 0 many, yes. Right, so this is 0 dot dot star. A teacher may teach many students, yes. There can be students without a teacher. According to this one, no, right? So 1 means, again debatable, right? 1 means 1 no, 0 1. I can't remember. It was mentioned in your note. Okay, just close it. Right, 1 means exactly 1. Otherwise you have to say there's nothing called 0.1, right? No, 1 means exactly 1. Or else you have to say 0.1. So that is, or you have to keep it blank. Then it is 0, 1. 1 means exactly 1. So therefore, teacher may teach, there can be students without teacher, no. No. So therefore the answer is B, C, D. B, C, D. 15. Consider the following statements on dependency diagram. Right. So what is mean by dependency diagram? Did we do something called dependency diagram? What is that? I think we never discussed something called dependency diagram, but we had the concept of dependency in class diagram and use case diagram. Remember, in class diagram, a class can be have a dependency with another class, something like this. So that means this class depends on this one for some functionalities, right? Maybe this is email utility class, this is order class. So order is depending on the email utility. For that is a weakest relationship. That is a weakest relationship. It's even not an association, right? But you need that functionality. Okay. So then the use case diagrams, we discussed that one use case must depends on another use case, but we very rarely model it because most of the time use cases are depending on other use cases. Therefore usually you don't show it unless you want to show it explicitly. Okay, those are the two places we discuss about the dependency. Now let's read it. The most common usage of dependency diagram is to show that a signature in the operation of one class use another class. Signature in operation of one class use another class. That I am not sure. Okay. The dependency is depicted as a dashed line joining the two classes with an arrowhead pointing to the dependent on class. That is correct, right? So A depended on or depends on B. It's towards where A is depending on. Okay. Dependent on, to the dependent on. I think that is good enough, right? A is dependent on B. Actually, it should have been A is depending on B. I don't know why they call it dependent on, but anyway, we'll take it. Okay. Because it's dashed line with arrowhead pointing to the dependent class or depending class. Dependency relationships can be shown in a use case diagram. Yes, right. So the use cases also have the dependencies. Okay. So therefore, I don't know why they call it statements on dependency diagrams. I think dependency in diagram, right? So there's nothing called dependency diagrams. Okay. I think there's something wrong with the question as well. So I will go for 2 and 3. But unfortunately, there's no answer for 2 and 3. Therefore, now let's look at the 1. The most common use of dependency diagram is to show that signature of the operations of one class uses another class. So usually signature, I don't know what is meant by signature of a class. No, signature in the operation of one class. See. I think that is not a very good answer. But anyway, let's read this one again. Dependency is depicted as a dashed line joining the two classes with an arrow headed pointer to the dependent. Dependent. I think that is wrong, right? Because you are the dependent one, right? You are the dependent one. You are depending on B. So dependent one is this one, right? So this is towards, not the towards dependent. The dependent guy is this guy. Dependent guy is this because A depends on B. So therefore A is the dependent guy, right? I don't know. This is all about English, I think. Okay. So therefore it looks like I don't like to go into this one because it says dependent. So this one I am not sure because anyway there is no combination called 2 and 3 also. Then I have only 3. Only 3 is the answer. Right? Only 3 is the answer. So it might be all 3 are answers. Right? So this is also possible. But I will go for C then. And anyway it's a lot of confusions are there, okay? Because of the wording. Okay, so now you can see so they have taken all as answers. So now they have not taken very strict things, right? So in a way I thought that now this word is also fairly confusing. So that means what they mean by dependent on class is this one, right? A is dependent. No, we can't say A is dependent. Yeah, right. A depends on. I don't know. So anyway they have taken this. I thought it's other way they are talking, but they have considered anyway. That is all about active voice and passive voice. Little bit confusing, but they have taken this one, right? The most common use of dependency diagram is to show that signature in the operation of one class. So that is anyway debatable because sometimes you may depending on another class and it may not be in the signature. Sometimes, yeah, maybe yes, because if it is a instance variable, right? And then of course now remember there are two ways. Now I think that is a very good point actually, right? Now only I'm also thinking about it seriously. Now I think this is the idea behind this question. Okay, this one. Okay, remember this one has taken as answer. Now if you take a class, of course you can have variables, instance variable and static variables, then instance method and static methods. Okay, so one way of a method using another object or class is that is a instance variable here. So for example customer can refer to a set of orders or payment. So payment, for example, if this is a payment class, customer can be instance variable. If it is an instance variable, usually that is association, right? That is association, and of course, then any method can use it. Any method can use that. Say any account object, sorry, any order object can refer to. Sorry, any order method can refer to this instance of the customer because it's an instance variable. So usually associations will result in having a instance variable of the other class depending on the direction. If it is bidirectional, both side. Of course, if it is many, collection of. But usually if it is dependency, you don't go for association like this. You get that object as a parameter, right? You get that object as a parameter because it's very weak relationship, right? So that then, for example, if you want to send an email, so maybe that email object or utility object you will get as a parameter and you get that object. So usually the dependencies are sent like that rather than you refer to that. But again, that is not always the case. Sometimes you can have that as an instance as well. So therefore it's not a hard and fast rule, but might be that is the idea behind or thinking behind this saying that if it is dependency, it might be referred to maybe one of the method signatures. That means it is you are using it. Someone is sending that. Someone is sending that. Your caller is giving to you. It's not you are associating with that. Okay, so there why you are not having an instance variable. It is not a very strongly you are associated with that. Associate can ආශ්‍රය කරන්න. එහෙම ලොකු ආශ්‍රයයක් නැහැ. අර හැබැයි ඔයාලට කවුරුහරි දෙනවා ඒක වැඩක් වෙන මැසේජ් එකක් එවද්දී ඔයා ඒක හන්දෙත් ඒකත් ඔයාලට ඕන හන්දයි යවන්නේ. ඒතකොට ඔයා ඒක පාවිච්චි කරනවා. ඒ වගේ අදහසක් තමයි තියෙන්නේ. I think that is a reasonable logic. Right? Because they have to give it, you are not keeping it because it's not you are not associated with that. Okay. So I think then we can take all three. This is all about the wording. I think the wording is examiner's interpretation is that is the correct wording, but it's a little bit confusing for me. Okay, right. 16. Consider the following statement regarding UML2. Timing diagram is specific type of interaction diagram that explore the behavior of an object over a specific time period. That is correct, right? So during the specific time period, it goes from one state to the other state, right? Timing, right? Timing, it's something like a state diagram, but state diagram due to activities and events mostly, but timing diagram most of the time after sometimes automatically it goes to the next state, next state, next state. Okay. Like a washing machine, automatic washing machine, or door, automatic door, right? It will open for sometimes and automatically it will close unless there are sensors. Someone is again coming. A timing diagram is a specific type of interaction diagram, but is it interaction diagram? Uh, is it like interaction diagrams are usually uh, sequence diagrams, communication diagrams, etc. Okay. Explore the behavior of an object over a specific time of period. Let's keep it as open one. The composite structure diagram, remember the example we did? Say person, mind and body. Composite. Person consists of mind and body. Right? So these are basically inner classes, nested classes when it comes to implementation. Composite structure diagrams is a type of static structure, correct, that shows the internal structure of a package. But this says internal structure of package. I think deliberately examiner has taken that word to make it wrong, because it is not the internal structure of a package, it is usually internal structure of a class. So I will not go for this. An interaction overview diagram. Remember the interaction overview diagram? So it gives you the overview, then individual things you can go for sequence diagram, etc. Okay. An interaction overview diagram is similar to an activity diagram. Yes, basically it's an overall activity diagram. But for a given activity, you can have a sequence diagram or maybe communication diagram. Okay. An interaction overview diagram is similar to activity diagram, but each individual activity can contain nested interaction diagrams. Exactly, right? So this individual activity can be interaction diagram like sequence diagram or communication diagram. Okay, right? So we discussed that. So that is correct. Okay, so that means 2 is, according to my interpretation, wrong. Right? 2 is wrong. 3 is correct. 1 is the troublemaker now. Now, do we have 1, 3? Yes, unfortunately 1, 3 is there. Do we have only 3? Luckily only 3 is not there. Because I feel like 2 is definitely not an answer. Therefore, since only 3 is not there, luckily I will go for 1 and 3. I will go for 1 and 3. Because I think this is sort of here and there. Okay. Let's anyway see the answer first. Yes, they have taken C. Okay. They have taken C. Right. So now again let's read this one. Timing diagram is a specific type of interaction diagram. Yes, it's interaction. Now they have taken it as interaction diagram. That was my main doubt. They have taken it as interaction diagram. But the rest of the stuff is okay. Explore the behavior of an object over a specific time period. Now I think let's look at the overview of the UML and see whether it is interaction diagram. It's at the very end. I asked you to download the note again last time, not this week. This week I didn't add anything. So where is interaction overview diagram? It is not a major diagram. They have we can say interaction overview diagram. So they so they have taken it as part of the behavioral post, but dynamic diagram where they have taken it as an interaction diagram, and you can see state machines are behavioral, not static. Remember, there was a question called both static and uh, dynamic, and I took both and the examiner took only dynamic. Now you can see state machines are here. There's no diagram is referred to both this side and this side. Okay, so therefore yes, interaction overview diagram is can be considered as a sort of a dynamic diagram, right? Sort of interaction diagram, right? So therefore this is correct, right? This is correct. It's an interaction diagram. So therefore we can go for 1 and 3. They 2 is wrong because they say package, okay, and not the structure of package, is structure of class. Right, 17. The following figure illustrates the model driven architecture. Okay. Okay, how many questions are there? 30. Okay, we'll take a break. So we'll discuss the rest of the stuff after the break, because now it's almost question 17. Right. So following figure illustrate the model driven architecture. So model driven architecture is we model it and we gradually convert it to developing or the coding. Okay. So let's see. So it says domain specific guidelines, then some things, and of course executable code is generated according to this one. According to this one. And also here domain specific guidelines are there, some translators and something. Okay, it looks something somewhat complicated concept things. Okay, right. So anyway, let's try to solve this sort of a puzzle. Right, ABCD platform specific models. I think this is a good one to add to your note as well. I might update using this one because they can ask this question again. Okay, right. So let's see whether we can solve this. This is your end result, executable code. That is your software. Okay, so that means if it is your executable code. Okay, let's see. Platform independent models. Platform space. Usually you have to start with platform independent, then you will go into the platform specific. Okay, computation independent model, platform specific patterns and rules, language specific patterns. So let's try to find out which one is the which one has the highest abstraction. I think computation independent model is very should be very left side, pretty much in the left side. So let's see, let's try to eliminate some of these things. So 1, so 1 is this one, but this one is not related to this one, right? That is a funny diagram. It's all going insert but nothing is coming out. That means it's all inputs. This one has some inputs and outputs. This one has inputs, outputs. Okay, so this is sort of independent part. I think this is more into the abstract concept. So therefore I will go for something like I'm not very sure about this. I have no clue about this. But this should be very close to the coding and other things. Third one. I will go for third one as maybe language specific thing. Okay. Do we have D as answer here? D as third one? No, no. D third one, D fourth, D fourth, D fourth, D fifth. So language specific one they have taken. Fourth one, that is this one. I haven't seen this diagram anywhere else, maybe in your reference book. So I have no idea what is this. Okay, so let's see the answer. This is 17, right? So they have taken it as E. E means, let's try to fill it and see, because they can ask that question again and again. Okay. E means 1 is B. 1 is one is B. 1 means this one, that is component independent model. So they consider this is component independent. Then two E platform independent, they have taken this one. And what about the fourth? Fourth is C, platform specific. And I'm interested in third one, in E. Third one is A, platform specific. O. And what about 5? 5 is D. You can see 5 is here. I thought language must be very close to this one. I thought that is this one, but they have taken language as this one. And so this must be more into the languages side. Okay. So yes, they have taken language here. The third one is A, platform specific. Yes, when it comes to this side, it must be language and more language and platform. When you go there, more and more language specific, more and more platform specific. Here, less and less language, more conceptual. More conceptual. So this is platform, this is language. This is platform, this is language. Then of course 1, 2, 4 are B, component independent, E, platform independent, and fourth one is C, platform specific patterns and rules. Anyway, so I will see whether I can find the original diagram of this one, and if I can find it in your reference book, I will add this to the because we had that component base somewhere here after the class diagrams, I think. No, not there. This is design patterns. I added it somewhere. Where is that? Maybe here. Yeah, so this is model driven architecture. There we have this, but we never had that diagram. Okay, so we mentioned about the component independent model, platform independent model, platform specific model, and I posted that accidentally. And platform specific models, etc. But I will I will find that diagram and I will update the note again, and I will upload it again. Okay, because I think that they have asked that question, right? So they need a very detailed idea about this. More than that, not just awareness of having these three, how they are related as well in very detail, in very high detail. Okay. Okay, I will edit and if when I upload it again, I will let you know. I will put up a message. Okay. Right. Okay, I have closed all the PDF. 2018. Right. So let's move on to the next question. So I will update the note. Okay. So that you will get a better idea. Maybe we can do a small revision on that part again later when we are doing the full revision. Right. 18. Which of the following statements are correct regarding deployment and component diagrams? Right? Deployment and component. Component and deployment diagrams are highly related. Component diagrams will show you only the components and their connectivities, which component communicate with which other components. But deployment diagram is sort of an extension to the component diagram where it will show you which components are in which physical server or the physical node. Okay, they are highly related. Both are static diagrams we use to show the high level architecture. Right. Which of the following statement is correct regarding deployment and component diagrams? A component diagram represents the software components. Correct. It can be DLL, it can be a enterprise Java bean, right? A component diagram does not show the interfaces and relationship between the components. Obviously, it shows, right? These components are integrated with this component, right? So that is why in the all we have something like this notation, right? Or sometimes now the new notation is something like this. Now they have published the first topic, right? I so there's another representation also mentioned in your first note. Anyway, I will be adding that also to your note. I will be keep on updating the note. Okay, because now VLE they have given you the first note, because I saw that there's another notation they have mentioned for the component diagram. You can see. So this is now, so in our document and your all PDF in your all note set, that is previous syllabus, they used to mention it like something like this only, or they just say just use this one. Okay, this is old approach, this is new approach. But what in your new slide set, the old approach is mentioned as something like this. Okay, so the new approach, rather than just like this, they have mentioned it like something like this. So I will update the note again, because in new syllabus they have used slightly different notation. Okay, so I will update the note again. So okay, right. So anyway, now let's get back to our answers. Component diagram represent the software components. Yes. Component diagram doesn't show the interfaces and relationships. Wrong. It shows the interfaces and relationships. Interfaces tamaya. Deployment diagram describes the hardware where various instances of components reside at runtime. Correct. That is the additional thing that deployment diagram shows. The nodes in deployment diagram represent hardware, and links between nodes show how the communication take place. That is correct, right? I pretty much the same thing. Both deployment diagram and component diagrams are useful in architecture. Yes, it shows you the architecture, right? High level architecture. I will go for everything other than B. 18, everything other than B. Okay. 19. Activity diagrams, okay, are similar to flowcharts. Yes, they are the closest to the flowcharts. Can represent concurrent activities. Can, right? You can show concurrent activities using synchronization, right? Then they can again join. So these are the concurrent activities. Yes. Do not show the order of activities. Of course, they show the order of activities, right? So it goes from this activity to this activity, etc. Unless they are concurrent. So in concurrent, yes, parallelly this and this can happen, but inside concurrent activities also there's order. Can supplement the description of a class diagram. So can we use activity diagram to supplement the class diagram? So those are the open things. Okay, those are the open things. But I don't know whether it's a supplement to the class diagram or it's independent. I think it's a sort of independent thing. Class diagram shows the structure, whereas activity diagram shows the activities. So I will not go for that. Can represent the logic involved in a process. So that is correct, right? Because you can have these kind of forks. If this condition satisfied, you have to do this activity, otherwise that activity. Okay, we'll go for that. So again, I will go for everything other than D. Then they have not taken C also. Right. So that is my mistake. Right. So it says do not show the order of activity. I thought it is show the order of activity. No. Yes. Obviously, C is not answer because I didn't see this not. Yes. C is not answer because it show the order of activities. Okay. So that is my careless mistake. So the answer is A, B, and E. 20. It's a sequence diagram. Consider the following diagram and the statement made with regard to it below. Right, message is sent from A to B. Then B is sending a message to C. I don't know why the synchronization bar is not there. I think it's maybe they are asking whether something wrong with this one. Then there's self message. Then there's another message going, but I don't know why the synchronization bar is not there. Okay, right. Which of the statement is correct regarding the diagram? The diagram is a type of interaction diagram. Yes, right. So these are interaction diagrams, sequence diagrams, communication diagrams, timing diagrams, etc. Yes. Message 2 and message 4 are operations of class B. Yes. Message Message 2 is operation of class C. So that is why you are sending a message to C. So message 2 means you are calling a behavior or operation of class C, not class B. So therefore this is definitely wrong. Message 3 is an operation in class B. Message 3. Yes. No. It's operation in class C. Class C is calling the operation of another operation of the same class. No, wrong. Message 4 is sent before message 3. No, right? Because message 4 is below, right? So we read it from top to bottom. Time passed from top to bottom. So this is also wrong. So that means the answer is only 1. But I don't know why this is synchronization bar is not there. But let's forget about that because it's not mentioned. So the answer means that means only 1 is the answer. Okay. So only 1 is there. So I will go for A, 20. Yes. Okay. So I don't know why the synchronization bar is not there. That is a different story. Okay. 21. Sequence diagrams. Right. So sequence diagrams are diagrams like this. Can be used to model the interactions in domain defined by class diagram. Correct, right? So those are the interactions. The domain is defined by the domain is defined by the class diagram, how the classes are related. Now this can be used to model the interaction of those classes. Okay, let's take Used for modeling the scenarios of a use case. Correct, right? So the sequence diagrams are drawn for a particular scenarios, important scenarios, right? Maybe making order, making a payment, right? Making a money transfer. Yes. Are useful in identifying the operations that have to be included in each class. That is correct, right? Because this shows that this one has to communicate with this one and call these messages. A message means there's operation in this class, right? Are useful in identifying operations that have to be included. Correct, right? Because message means you are calling operation. Right? So let's take. Use vertical dimension to represent time. Yes, we read time from top to bottom. So therefore, numbering is also not a must. With message drawn horizontally, yes, in the order of they are sent. Correct. Can model object creation and deletion of an interactions. That is correct, right? Because in sequence diagram you can show the object destruction, and of course when there's a message going, the synchronization bar started means object is created, right? Object creation, deletion. So usually I haven't seen any answer that is all are correct. Therefore I'm a little bit worried, but it looks like for me everything is answers. Let's see whether we can eliminate at least one scenarios. So this one is little bit doubtful whether is it A to B, is it other way around. But anyway, I'll go for. Okay, I'll go for. Yes, all are correct. Okay, all are correct. 22. Now you can see this paper is fairly standard, but still if you are really serious about your object oriented concepts, you can go for A. You can go for A because second paper is not that difficult as well. And of course you can't memorize and pass this subject at all. You will find that there's nothing to memorize, but at the same time if you haven't understood it, you will find that your answers are also wrong. Right, consider the following diagram. Now this one has a proper synchronization bar. And now this is object destruction is also shown because it's optional, you can show it. Message 1, message 2, then now I don't know why they have make it as a message 3. I think that is a returning, but sometimes people show it like that. Or maybe it's calling a method. No, I don't think this is a returning of the method call. It is sort of a recursive call. This is calling this one and this is calling this one. Okay, but not recursive, right? Then it should be the same method. No, it is not recursive, but this one call this one call this one, and this one is again calling this one. Maybe it's different method. Okay, so that can happen, but this is not the return. If it is return, you don't give it as a message, right? If it is a method return, it will be a dotted line, dash line. Okay, so definitely it's a different message now. Now it is something like order is calling a method in payment, and that method is again calling the method in the order. So usually that is very rarely done, but it can happen. Let's see. Identify the correct statement related to the above diagram. The use case model is cancellation of booking. Okay, how do you know that? Without giving us the information. Okay, let's keep it. How do you know that whether it's cancellation or whatever? By just looking at this. Okay, let's see. It is drawn for a scenario where booking is requested for a fully booked flight. It illustrates the destruction of a booking. I think this may be booking. Right? Question again, answers in the yeah, this is a booking. Yeah, it shows the destruction of a booking. Okay. This is specific flight, right? Alright, so then yeah, so this is specific flight. So I think you are checking the flight, right? Whether the flight is available. If it is available, maybe now you are doing a particular booking for that particular flight, right? And I don't know why this is now. Let's say now it's a cancellation. How do you know whether it's a cancellation? Just because there's a distraction, can we say cancellation? I don't think so. Fully booked flight. Fully booked. How do you know whether it's a fully booked? That means it illustrates the destruction of a booking. Maybe this is correct because at least object is destructed. It shows the synchronous message between being passed from specific flight object to booking object. That is correct, right? It's synchronous, not asynchronous. If it is asynchronous, I think the notation is something like this. Okay, so this is synchronous, one after the other, not parallel messaging. So therefore we'll take that. Now, if we have 3 and 4, now let's see what are the possible answers. If you have to take 3 and 4 as correct answers, then I will not go for 1 only. I will not go for 1 and 2. I will not go for 1 and 3. 3 and 4. If you go for 3 and 4, here also 3 and 4 is there. Here also 3 and 4 is there. Then I have to pick which one is out of 1 and 2. Or is then there's a possibility of none of the answers are correct as well, right? But anyway, let's see whether 1 or 2 is the use case model as cancellation of booking. It is drawn for scenario when a booking is requested for a fully booked flight. Fully booked flight. Since I don't know, this is not a very logical thinking, logical idea, but I don't know. Since this is distracted, I don't know, but that is very poor logic. But anyway, just I need to get at least one of those two. I will some slightly doubt, very slightly, but it is not a very good logic. I don't ask me why, because anyway objects are distracted. But since the distraction is shown, it maybe the examiner's thinking is this is a cancellation. Okay. So anyway, that is not a very good logic anyway for me. Since I just want another answer. Okay, I will go for 1, 3, and 4. But I don't know. This is pure guessing. But I'm pretty sure 3 and 4 are correct. But I'm not sure about the 1 and 2. Okay. But anyway, since we have to go for answer, I will go for D. Okay, I will go for D. So D is 22. 22. Yes, D. Right. So that is little bit of luck as well, but I don't know. Usually when method calls are done, object will be distracted. Just because object is distracted, I don't consider it as a cancellation of booking, but maybe that is the idea behind this question, or maybe the thinking behind the this question created by maybe the examiner or some other book. Okay, but I don't like that answer. Just because distraction, how can I say it is a cancellation, right? So but anyway, I just go by some logic too, and I thought that might be the thinking of the examiner. Okay, but anyway, I don't like that answer, right? I don't like that answer. Just because object is distracted, I don't want to say that it is cancellation, but I just thought that it might be the logic behind this question. Okay, but that is not a very good logic for me, right? But anyway, so the answer given is 1, 3, and 4. That is sorry, 1, 3, and 4. Yes, right. 23rd one. Consider the following use case diagram. So librarian is the actor, the main use case is checkout, and it is extended from perform transaction. Of course, the checkout and all those are generally we can call them transactions, and this should be an include because the arrow goes the other side. So therefore, this must be include. Right? So this must be include. This must be include. And since it come towards this one, it must be extends. So include means always happen. Extends means when this happens, optionally this can happen. Okay. Right now let's see. Right. A, check account balance. I think that is something we always have to do, right? So that is a candidate for now 2, 3 is also there. Yeah, I think that is include. So this fourth one. Pay overdue. That is optional, right? So if there's overdue only, you have to pay overdue. So that is I will go for 1. That is 1. Because not always you do there's a payment overdue. Then of course second one must be extends. Extend must be the second one. Include must be the third one. So that means A, B, C, D, they have not gone by A, B, C, D, they have gone by 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 is B, 2 is C, 3 is D, 4 is A. I'm 100% sure about that answer. Let's see. B, C, D, A. B, C, D, A. Answer must be D. Answer must be D. Okay, so let's see. 23. Yes, answer is D. Okay, so by looking at the arrow, I know that this is include because include goes from main use case to the included one, extends coming towards the main use case. Okay, so then you have to check out of these which one is the optional option can happen sometimes, which one is something that you always have to do. Obviously, check account balance is something you always have to do, right? Right, so that is 23. Let's move on to 24. Which of the following can be shown using sequence diagram? Sequence diagram, okay. Recursion, so that is you send a message to yourself, okay, so that can be done. Repetition, repetition means you repeatedly send that, maybe 4 times, 3 times, right? So that can also done, okay. Condition, repetition, I don't know whether repetition, yeah, repetition can be done, right? So if you want to say you want to do booking for 4 days, maybe you have to do the booking each and every day separately, so then you have to go for a repetition, right? You have to do that maybe 4 times. Optional, condition yes, message passing yes, optional behaviors yes, you can have guard condition, right? So if the guard condition is satisfied only, we did that kind of example, right? So let's take that example we did, that hotel room reservation example. Sequence diagram. Now here you can see now this is a iteration for each day you are doing this, and this is a condition, this room is available only you are doing this, and this is a recursive call as well, right? So yes, so the answer is then everything. Okay, let's see if the answer is all 24. Yes, all the answers. 25. Consider the following statements related to sequence and communication diagrams. Sequence and communication interaction diagrams. Okay. Which of the above statements are true? Sequence diagram clarifies the relationship among the objects, while communication diagram shows the sequence of interactions among the objects. Sequence diagram clarifies no, right? It's other way. The communication or the interaction overview diagram, the communication diagram shows the relationship among the objects. It's not basically the relationship, but how they are communicating. But definitely, the interaction clarifies the relationship. I don't like the word relationship. Sequence diagram is all about showing the messages, right? Communication diagram shows the sequence. Now you can see communication diagram and here the word sequence. So then the word sequence must be in the sequence diagram, right? Let's not take that. Communication diagrams is another way of presenting the information in a sequence diagram. So that is correct, right? So pretty much both are presenting the same thing. One in a more detailed manner, the other one in a overview manner, right? So the communication diagram is much more simple how the objects are interacting. Okay, so let's take sequence diagram is organized according to the time. Yes. Communication diagram is organized according to the links among the objects. I think that is good enough, right? Among the links means as long as they connect, because we number anyway. We know what is a sequence. It's more than timing. It's a it's this message, that message. So this is little bit loosely worded, but anyway, I will go for that. Okay, in that case, 2 and 3 is there, right? I will go for C. Yes, C. Okay. 26. Which of the above statement is are true? Sorry, consider the following diagram in UML2. Okay, this is a component diagram. This is the interface. Okay. So X must be the interface, right? So that these components are connected together means, so this must be your interface. Okay. So what can X be in the above diagram? Then it has to be what? The interface B. 26B. 27. Identify the classes that can be there in a student registration system from among the following. Okay, so if you have a student registration system, possible classes. Year. Okay. Kamal Jayakodi, definitely not a class, it's object. Computer science student. Of course, you can have student as a class, but I don't know whether computer science student. Of course, students can be associated with a course, but should we call them the computer science students? I don't like that. I don't like that. But maybe computer science students may be having special attributes as well. Maybe they are given a laptop. I don't know. So therefore, students, computer science students, should we do that? If they need special attributes, special behaviors, we have to do that also. But usually, student will be associated with a course. But there's a possibility, right? We'll go for that, but it can be debatable. But anyway, I will go for that. A course is obviously a class. What is this? Chess. Chess. I think let's not take that. Okay, so chess is a game. Year. I don't know what is mean by year. Maybe year is that your year 1, year 2, year 3. Right? Sometimes yes, right? Because these subjects are related to year 1, year 2, year 3. I will go for that. Right? So this student is in year 1, year 2. So then answer is A, D, E. It can be a little bit debatable, but I think it must be AD. Okay, so they have not taken A. They have taken only D and E. So why they haven't taken A? Now again, I think the unfortunately, I think they have considered benefit. So I thought year is year 1, year 2, year 3. Definitely, the examiners thinking about year is year 2000, year 2001, 2020, etc. I think if that is the case, then I hope that is the reason why they have not taken it. Now that is an unfortunate situation. Of course, the same word has different meanings, right? So then either the examiner has to explain it. What I mean by year is something like this, or something like this is the level. Maybe examiner has thought it as a particular year in the calendar. Okay. Then of course it is not a class. I think that is why they have not taken A. Okay. That is an unfortunate situation. You need bit of luck also. 28. Right. Consider the following scenario. A banking application has several. Now, what is the question? Read the question when you are reading long sentences. Otherwise, you just blindly read it. What are the most appropriate methods to model the above scenario? Okay, now you can read it. But how come the appropriate methods and they say polymorphism? Maybe the concept, right? Not methods. The concept that you are going to use. Okay, because by looking at the answers, I thought it's a method name. A banking application has several different type of accounts. In some type of accounts, interest is computed as a percentage of the average daily balance during a month. In other type of the accounts, interest is computed as a percentage of minimum daily balance during a month. In a mortgage account, interest is computed as a percentage of the balance at the end of the month. So definitely this must be now you might wonder, should I go for inheritance? Should I go for polymorphism? But anyway, definitely it's not aggregation and not association, not composition, because they are not talking like that. So what is the best one? Of course, they are talking about the class hierarchy, right? So that means we have the mortgage accounts, you have the they just say some type of accounts, but I think it's more relevant to polymorphism because uh, the way you calculate the interest is different in different objects or different classes. So that means when the same message say add interest, one account is behaving one way, the other account is behaving other way. Of course, you can have that interest method in your superclass called the account, but you are going to override those things, right? So that means polymorphism. Okay, so I will go for polymorphism. I don't know whether the use they will take inheritance as well, because bit of inheritance must be there. But I will go for the this is a debatable answer if it is, but I will go for only A. Okay, 28 only A. Yes, only A. Right. 29. Right. 29 and 23. So this is a composition. You can see that this is shaded. Shaded means composition. So this is a strong one. Your part cannot exist without whole. Whole does all the control of the parts, right? Otherwise, it's going to be aggregation. This is the aggregation. This is composition. So that means a country cannot exist without continent. I think that is correct, right? Every country in the world belong to one, at least one of the continent, right? So continent is the big guy. It's controlling the country. Okay. Right. Which of the following statement these are true regarding the above model? The continent may have no countries. So it says one, no, many. So therefore you can't say no countries. If a continent is removed, countries belong to the continent will also be removed. Yes, that is what is meant by composition. Your part cannot exist without whole. Yes. There can be a country with two languages. Two languages. Can I say something like that from by looking at this one? I think this diagram is not good enough to give that kind of a conclusion, because this is all about country and continent and country, right? Not, it's not talking of course language is attribute, but again you can see that it is not a collection, right? It's just usually then they should have mentioned it like list or something like that, list, array, right? But this one they say unique at least, but here nothing. Since it's not a list or something, I will say no, no. But I don't know, right? This can be, because by looking at this, I don't see it as a list or something. Two continents can have the same area. There is area. So that is possible, right? Because area is a attribute. So there can be two continents having the area as the same value. But again, I don't know what is mean by area. That is an unfortunate situation. Now remember, area can be the word. Say this is 5 and 4. Area is 20. I don't know whether examiner mean that, or it can be this area. Right. So this is, for example, our area, Sri Lankan area, is belong to Indian subcontinent. Maybe Asian subcontinent. If you take something like German, it belongs to the European subcontinent. I don't know whether that is the case, right? Because that, now since the area has two different meaning, so the answer is going to depends on the whatever the which meaning it refers to. Let's say not this mathematical meaning, right? Because it's a very special one. Because it's all about the composition. I will say a continent, two continent may have the same area. Two continent can't be, right? I don't know whether this area means මේ වර්ගඵලය දන්නෙත් නෑ ප්‍රදේශය දන්නේ නෑ අපෝ පිස්සු ඇදලානේ. Two continent may have the same area. හරියට කියන්න එපා මේ මොකක්ද area කියලා කියන්නේ. Oh, how to come up with the answers? Now you have to trust your luck. If it is normal area, then no. But by looking at this composition, if this is composition, your country must be full.
Something area. For example, Russia, it is belongs to Europe and as well as the Asia.
Yeah. So that is also there, right? If you look at the reality, yes, that is also there. But has it anything to do with this diagram? That is my question. Because this one they say area as attribute, right? Area as attribute. So therefore, when you have area as attribute, I think maybe that 5 into 4 20, because then it can't be attribute, right? Because every continent can have area. So that is again we are in trouble now, because we never know what is mean by area. What is the interpretation of area? But since it is a attribute, I think area is something like this vargapale, right? Square meters or whatever. Okay, I think that is my guessing. Okay, because it's attribute here. Okay. So if you think like that, of course, if you think like the other way, yes, area may two different one country may belong to two continents. It all depends on the interpretation. If I go by this, since it's attribute, rather than just go by the English meaning, I will go for yes. Okay. But again, your logic is other way around. Right, so that is Russia, one country belong to two continents. This says two continents can have the same area. No, right? I think your logic is wrong. Your logic is other way. One country can belong to two continents, but this says two continents can have the same area. That is wrong. So this area, say even if Russia, this area belong to only Europe. and this area is belong to Asia. I think you have to agree with me, right?
Yes.
Yes, right. So I think your interpretation is other way. So in that case, it is wrong. In that case, if you take like that, then this is a wrong answer. If you consider area as a sort of a square or whatever that the calculated one, then it looks like correct. So there we are in now real trouble. Okay. If both are giving the same answer, again we are safe. But anyway, let's not think too much about it. I will think that this is this whatever square meter, then I will say yes. But anyway, if the examiner thinks other way, it will be false as well. Okay, right. So this can be really debatable. Country can be in many continents. Now I think, because that guy is talking about country can be in many continents and two continents can have same area, I think this guy is talking about this, not this 5 into 4 blah blah blah. I think now it is he is talking about the pure logic. Okay, now I am going to change this my answer. Right now, I am going to change this my answer. I am going to. I'm now. I go by common sense. Two continents can have same area. I will say no. Country can be in many continents. I will say yes. But again, by looking at this, again I am in trouble. I don't know. I just go by the common sense. So I forget about the UML now. I just go by the common sense, and then my answer is B and E. And of course these things can be highly debatable by depending on the way you look at it. Okay, so I will go for B and E. 29. So it is B and D. How can it says E is wrong, but D is correct. Two continents can have the same area. Two continents can have the same area. But they say E is wrong. Country can be in many continents. So that means that common sense is not going to work. Okay. Common sense, they are referring to the UML. Country can be in many countries. Because if it is a composition, you must belong to one, because for example odd item cannot belong to two orders, right? I think they are not using the common sense, they are using strictly the notation. If you stick to the notation, I think that is a sensible thing to do. If you stick with this one, parent must child must belong to only one parent, right? Child must belong to one parent, and parent can have multiple children. So in that case, a country can be in many continents, must be wrong. I think that is reasonable, because this is a strong composition. Composition means child is depending on one parent. Okay. Then what about these two continents can have the same area? No, right? So for example, two orders cannot have the same odd item. I think go by this concept of composition, I think examiner's answers are perfectly correct. Right? Examiner's answers are perfectly correct, because composition means your children are belong to one parent, and parent can have many children. Okay. So therefore, yes, I will agree with the answer. So we just went somewhere, some other path, but the examiner is strict with the UML. Okay, I think that should be the case anyway. So therefore, yes, we have to accept the answer as B and D. Right, B and D. Because this is no countries you can't have, because one no many. If a continent is removed, countries belong to the continent will also be removed. That is by definition, that is how the composition work. There can be country with two languages, because I think that is not directly because this is just a one attribute. And of course, other answer is also to comply with the concept of composition, where children are tightly bound to a parent. Parent control the children. Okay, parent control the children, and children cannot exist without the parent. Okay, right. 30. Which of the following object-oriented concept best describe the relationship in the above model? Right. So this is obviously a composition. Answer is D. And D. Okay. So that is the 2019 part 1. I thought we can do both, but we managed to do only the first paper. That means again we are going to do another class. Maybe when next time we will do both object oriented analysis, this second paper, because it will take another maybe 1 hour. Then we will be moving to the data structures and algorithm paper. Okay, so we'll do that next Wednesday, right? So second paper and the 2019 second paper, object oriented analysis, and we will start in the data structures and algorithm